Yo, what's happening, guys? Potentially huge story coming out of Bloomberg this evening. Mood lighting Yan in the evening here, as you can see, still in this makeshift setup while the office is finished, which it will be by tomorrow, by the way. So if this indeed is a big story, I'll of course follow this like all stories regarding Chelsea here on the channel. It's a story coming from Bloomberg. Chelsea FC's backers Clearlake and Todd Boehly are weighing up ownership options. Huge story that we're going to react to here this evening. Like I said, guys, here on the channel, I always try and react to the biggest stories as quickly as possible, getting them out to you guys. If you are into that kind of content, thank you for being here. Thank you for dropping a like on the video to show your support. And if you are interested, do subscribe, hit the bell if you choose to, because yeah, road to 200,000 subscribers this season. We're really close to 190,000. And like always, I'll be trying to bring you Chelsea news, my commentary on it, and indeed everything regarding Chelsea, whether it's match previews and reviews and stuff like that. It's a huge story. All right, so I'm going to reference and cite this article now from Bloomberg. Yeah, basically, apparently relations between Bedadik Bali and Todd Boehly have soured. Clearlake and the Boehly-led consortium bought Chelsea, of course, in bought Chelsea in 2022. Now, we heard, firstly, before I get into this, I was under the understanding that when Rain Group sold Chelsea, which are, of course, the New York-based group that were in charge of selling Chelsea once we were seized from Roman Abramovich, that the new owners couldn't sell shares for a decade, 10 years, which would mean 8 years remain. Now, this was a recurring theme going around all the stories at the time. How true that is, I'm not entirely sure. And of course, if this is coming up, then we don't know. And there was stories a while ago now, maybe even as far back as a year ago, saying that Boehly and Eghbali were no longer mates like they used to be. Now, this has been refuted by Chelsea. They said this is nonsense, don't listen to this. But there were stories suggesting that from a while back. So I'll be interested to hear what happens next. And of course, this comes in the wake of, you know, the Clearlake Capital man, CEO Chris Jurasek stepping down, which I reacted to earlier today. Let's read then from Bloomberg, from David Hellier and Giles Turner, who are the contributing journalists to this article. Chelsea FC's main shareholders are exploring their ownership of the English Premier League football club after little more than 2 years in charge. Amid a deterioration in relationships, people familiar with the matter said. This is huge, guys. Also, there's been an insane investment in Chelsea. We can try and get our heads around through these ramifications. Let's just go through the article first. California-based private equity firm Clearlake Capital. So that's, of course, Chelsea's majority owner. I think they own over 60% of Chelsea. And US businessman Todd Boehly, who of course led the consortium, brought together what is now known as Blue Co, brought them together to purchase Chelsea, are assessing whether they can potentially buy each other out. Right. So what? I guess this would be buy each other out. So what? This has got to be Todd Boehly leaving, right? Surely, according to the people. Who are the people? People close to the matter, these people. The relationship between Clearlake co-founder Bedadik Bali, of course there's Jose Feliciano as well, who doesn't seem to be that involved with Chelsea. Co-founder Bedadik Bali and Boehly, the relationship between them, who together led a hard-fought takeover of Chelsea in 2022. Reminder, when we were seized and sanctioned by the government, Abramovich and seized, the potential buyers, the majority of Chelsea fans were backing the Boehly-Clearlake consortium because the alternatives were like Pagliuca, the Ricketts, which some Chelsea fans protested against, a Saudi media group, a bid that apparently never had any gonads behind it in terms of finances. This was the one. This was the one because of, you know, the sporting involvement of Todd Boehly, etc., etc. And that's the one that Chelsea fans wanted, lest we forget, right? But apparently, the relationship has deteriorated in recent months. Again, Bloomberg is a big serious publication here, but don't shoot the messenger. And you know, so far they've cited people, inverted commas, according to people, over a period of heavy spending at the club and this failed success on the field. Yeah. Down to you guys, all right? Don't act like, oh, we bought something that's not working properly. No. That's not how it goes, mate. Differing opinions on Chelsea's recruitment policy, the team's underperformance, and the failure to make progress on building a new stadium. That's a biggie, fair enough. The stadium is something that I can understand. Have all contributed to the rift, the people said. Asking not to be... So these people have asked not to be identified, discussing confidential information, or as the Athletic would call, to protect relationships with the Athletic. This is Bloomberg, of course. Clearlake owns more than 60% of Chelsea, with Bowley holding the rest alongside US businessman Mark Walter and Swiss billionaire Hans-Jörg Weiss. I think, there's someone else as well, split up even more. I think Todd Bowley has about 10-11% of Chelsea. Bloomberg News reported last year that Bowley was dialing back his involvement at Chelsea after a difficult first season in charge. Well, we know with Todd Bowley as well, the first season he was interim sporting director, and that went wrong. You know, your friggin' Koulibalys, your Sterlings, your Aubameyangs, they were all high wage, low upside purchases, which we've all since agreed that was a mistake. And Chelsea have since brought in sporting directors and recruitment specialists and have a plan. I wonder if Todd Bowley's the one that wants to get bought out here. Maybe he wanted a more Galactico model, and I just don't know. There's going to be so much speculation here. Both Clearlake and Bowley remain committed to the club. Okay, so what's the story? And running it in a professional manner, the people said. Bowley and a representative of Clearlake and Iqbali declined to comment. A spokesperson for Chelsea didn't provide comment. Well, if they are committed to Chelsea, then who's trying to buy who out here? What's going on here? The Clearlake Bowley-led consortium, of course, acquired Chelsea from a Russian oligarch, Roman Abramovich, for 4.25 billion. It's actually more like 2.25 billion. And the further 2 billion was like, you have to commit the fee to Chelsea. So Chelsea itself was like 2.5 billion. And bearing in mind, wasn't like Newcastle bought for 300 million. So yeah, I mean, yeah. There was like, I feel like when Rain sold Chelsea, you had to buy the club for 2.5 billion, but you also had to commit an extra 2 billion to the project, to the stadium, to the women's team, I think some to, transfers. Also, there was this idea that at least 100 million had to be put aside for the Abramovich investigations from the financial irregularities and stuff like that. In roughly 2 decades of under Abramovich ownership, the club had risen to become one of the most successful teams in English football, winning multiple domestic honours as well as trophies in elite European competitions. Are you taking note, Arsenal Football Club? Lol, lol, lol. While the new owners have spent more than £1 billion on acquiring new players since the takeover, Chelsea's success has faded. The club, okay, can I just, this is true, and we all want success, but there is also this idea of flipping upside down. What they are selling, at least, whether or not you're buying this or not is up to you, is that this is, it's not an instant success model anymore, that you're buying into long-term security with the young players, with the the infrastructure, the wage and age stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So it was never going to be you just continue. When you rip everything up, when you clean the deck and start again with, in theory, some good foundations, some risks as well. It was never going to immediately be successful Chelsea continually, and that's certainly what was reported and what's said, and like I said, what's being sold to the people. The club has sought to balance its books, of course, the FFP regulations by selling homegrown players, fan favourites like Conor Gallagher, the sale of hotels, of course. But again, this is being... Look, man, I'm very mindful that I don't want to come across as a champion for the new owners because we're not winning. It'd be I'd feel a lot more comfortable defending their actions if we were like consistently in the top 4. Who knows? We might finish top 4 and win a trophy this season, and everything is cool. But there is a lot of stuff I do like, and the Conor Gallagher thing, I kind of do get it. He just was interviewed today or yesterday saying it worked out great for everyone. That the hotels, Chelsea fans aren't angry that Chelsea have sold hotels to themselves to get ahead and exploit a system. You know, it's in the same way Leicester City fans aren't going to be angry with the club that their club found a way not to be breached by their financial fair play and get a points deduction like Everton did. Because Leicester broke the rules, but they found a loophole and legal wording, and now they're not going to probably get relegated. Are Leicester fans angry about that? This is kind of portraying this as like Chelsea fans are going to be annoyed that we're not hamstrung financially because they found a way to loophole the hotels. You know, whatever. You know, it's your job. People in certain departments of clubs, it's their job to bend the rules. Again, I think there's been so much done wrong with this ownership. Loads done wrong. You know? And I felt like a lot of it's going to be inevitable with teething issues of new like international owners. And just generally, if you have to cleanse yourself of the Abramovich regime, it was always going to come with certain pain. But I don't like finishing... When do we finish under Potter? Like 12th? Or something? Disaster. You know, last season as well, I know we had a strong finish, but conceding that, for me, that hurt nearly as much last season. I know we finished 6th and qualified for Europe, and Poch kind of was on the way up, but for me as a Chelsea fan, I kind of took pride growing up in Chelsea just being bastards and hard to beat. Like, you could never score goals past us. That's why I kind of like, when we all love Tuchel, because we made us such a hard team to beat. The way we bent over under Pochettino and just conceded goals all the time, for me, that was the most un-Chelsea thing. I'd rather just win 1-0 all the time than just have these open, crazy games when we're constantly conceding goals. So I've not been having the best time as a Chelsea fan. Let's just put it that way. Okay. In some cases, players as winger Angelo Gabriel has been brought and sold without playing a competitive game for Chelsea. Yeah, but again... What's I don't understand the lens that we're supposed to be viewing then. So Chelsea have bought a player and sold him for a profit, but he's not played for us. Are we supposed? I mean, the general external optics of that would be like, well, the game's gone crazy. You're buying an asset and selling it without playing him in the first team. But would any football fan, if they said to you, oh, your club buys a player, sells him for a profit, but he's not good enough for the first team, doesn't feature in the first team, is that fan going to be upset? No, your club's turned a profit on a move. Bowley recently told Bloomberg News that Chelsea's ownerships were laying a long-term foundation, establishing a great leadership team and responding to the environment. I do think responding to the environment. Alright, so the story here is they're exploring their ownership. Bowley, Kalilek are exploring their ownership after little more than 2 years in charge. There's deteriorations from relationships, and they're trying to figure out if they can buy each other out. What would it even... I mean, they would just be taking a massive L, because many Chelsea fans will be... I'd be terrified. Not because we'd be losing Clearlake and Bowley, just because I don't know what comes next. It's so tough in the landscape of owners out there. But then again, if we look, so what? Like, I'm trying to think for my own like existential, philosophical Chelsea fan here. What do I like about what the new owners have done? Well, I like the infrastructure of sporting directors, and I like the incentive-based wages. That's not going anywhere. Those players have signed those contracts, and there are sporting directors and recruitment. So in that sense, I'm thankful for that. Would I cry for the individuals going? Not really. Do I like them spending a lot of money on players? I know that you could be like, oh, we've overspent and we've been a bit like crazy with it. But would you rather owners that spend a lot of money on players and find a way to navigate PSR? Or would you rather be Newcastle United under Mike Ashley? And they just never spent, and he just took all the money for himself, and not asset stripped, but like, basically ensured that the revenue went to him and there was no losses, and essentially just didn't invest in the team whatsoever. And that would be new for Chelsea since 2004. If a new ownership came in and they just penny pinched and didn't spend, I feel like that would frustrate fans a lot more than just buying a bit too much talent all the time. I mean, you could probably ask a few Newcastle fans and be like, what was it like under Mike Ashley when he wouldn't spend any money on the team? Get ready to hear a few naughty words in response. Um, what do I think? I don't think they're going to sell Chelsea. Um, I feel like there are. I feel this story might be coming from. I wonder if this story is coming from like people like Bowley, maybe Bowley, or trying to get bought out by Clear Lake. He's no longer doing the stuff. You see Bedadik Barley everywhere. You see the sporting directors everywhere. Like, I can't. The way Bedadik Barley is at every single game, I can't think he wants to get out. Especially when he's been involved with transfers and he's there with Win Stanley and Stewart a lot. Maybe it's Todd Bowley. Anyway, potentially a huge story. Bloomberg coming out with that. I'll be very interested to hear the developments from this. There'll be a lot of investigation from journalists. Of course, I'll be all over this story, so keep it locked here. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you back here soon. Mwah! Peace.